So, if you guys have this stuff today, some sort of strap that also you can hook, even if you have to tie it, or a belt would be super helpful. Blocks would be super helpful. If you have, this is like just a couch cushion. A couch cushion might even be better. I have a regular bolster, but this is a little thicker. So if you have, it's not that it's so firm, but if you have something like this would be super helpful. And any sort of blankets and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So we'll get started in any seated position, on the chair, on the ground, on your knees, wherever you're comfortable, to get centered and get present. You don't have to sit cross-legged either. So welcome to a Psoas pelvic region focus of Gentle Somatic Yoga and other tools. And this is a really interesting region of our body that can create hip flexibility, spinal stability, and abdominal stability. It's also an area that is known as the great compensator. So when something else is going wrong in your low back, your hips, or things like that, it comes in to help. It's a very unusual muscle because it crosses the back and the front, and it actually intersects with a bunch of different regions of your spine. And the other interesting thing about the psoas is it's very connected to your breathing. So if the psoas off, it can negatively affect your breathing. If your breathing is off, it can negatively affect the psoas, and then vice versa. So if you can either get to it through breath, you can help the psoas, and if you work on the flexibility and the stability of the psoas, you're also going to help your breathing. So if you're interested in doing this and you have something, you could do our first breathing practice with a strap, just to create feedback. Now, you don't have to do this. Your hands can work just as well, but you would put your strap right under, right on your ribs, and you would tighten it just enough so that you can feel it, but that it's not painful. And if you have a buckle, my suggestion is put the buckle between the ribs so it's not bumping up against the ribs. So I have it right in the middle of my body, and I'm tightening it enough to be able to feel a sensation when I breathe out. Not a big sensation, but just, it gives you feedback to notice, okay, am I breathing more on this side or the front or the back? So again, tighten that up, settle in, try to have your spine nice and lengthened, and eyes can be soft gazed or closed, whichever you're more comfortable with. And just start initially with a normal breath for you, whatever you consider your normal breath. And begin to notice where you are feeling this on the strap. Also notice if you are engaging other things like your shoulders, if you're like moving the shoulders a lot or tightening them. And also maybe notice if you're not feeling it, if you're used to doing this sort of deep belly breath, you may not be expanding your chest out and in at all. So if any of those things are going on, now I'd like for you to purposely try to expand and contract against your strap or your hands if you're using your hands. So this is a different kind of breath. It's actually a breath used a lot by athletes because it is, especially swimmers. If you've noticed, swimmers are really big through here because they're breathing sideways. They're expanding instead of just letting the diaphragm go up and down. So we're developing this breathing muscle. And if we can breathe a little smoothly and energetically, we're also helping the psoas. So if you're attending this class live with me, it is on Election Day in the US. And there is a lot of angst, no matter who you want to vote for. There's been a lot of difficulty this election season, not only with the election, but it's been a difficult time weather-wise and otherwise here in the US. So the other thing you might do today is track your nervous system throughout the day, noticing what state you're in, and then accessing whatever resources you have. You have a whole toolbox, all of us do, to shift into a state where we just feel better inside. And that's, what I focus on. I focus on you feeling better inside and regulating. Because I feel like we all make better decisions when we're not in a fear state. Okay, so just a little settling in, breathing, and possibly setting a nervous system intention. So we'll start with a few standing things. Sorry, you're probably hearing my dog. She's a little whacked out this morning for some reason. If you do have your block, that would be really nice to have. And take your block, not the widest way, not this way, not this way, but then probably the narrow way for most of us. And put it between your legs. And if this is the first time or in a while you've been doing yoga and you have a wall nearby, you might want to lean up against the wall just to not make this quite as challenging for you. This is a good thing to do regardless, but we're just going to squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. When you're doing this, first try to figure out what you're actually squeezing. Hopefully you're squeezing your adductors, the inner thighs. We're going to use the inner thighs a lot today. And notice if you're activating the butt and other muscles. Try to focus here and visualize this, the psoas major. The psoas major connects with a bunch of vertebrae back here, wraps itself completely around here. It doesn't actually connect to your pelvic bones. It goes under the pelvic bones. So it's kind of helping hold them. And then it's connecting up here with your leg bones. It's a crazy muscle, and that's the psoas major. So just try, and this might be done against the wall or just try to do either a wall sit or an air sit for a moment. And again, squeezing and release. Squeezing and release. So we're waking up this area. We're trying to get in touch with this area. Today, we're going to focus on stability and flexibility. You need both for this area. Some of us are too rigid down here, and some of us are too lax down there. So we want to try to get a balance. So I'm squeezing and releasing. So go ahead and release the block from there. And this is another one that either a wall or chair would be helpful, particularly if you're having any balance issues. We're going to place the block toward one end, and I'm going to do a warrior two. So I'm going to take one foot, put it up on the block. This is why the wall is nice. You don't have to do it against the wall. And this also helps you make sure that you're opening up this leg a little bit. And then I'm going to slide this other foot back. You don't have to slide it back too far, but your front heel is intersecting the instep of your back foot, okay? So that's how you should set yourself up. And again, the wall's kind of nice to put your back against. Just kind of bend and straighten this knee a few times. Again, we're becoming aware, we're doing some action, but really becoming aware of this part of our body. If you want to add the arms in it. Now, if you're having shoulder issues, you could keep the hand on the back shoulder. Just go ahead and straighten it and bend it. Now, if you're holding on to a chair, the chair would probably be in front of you, but I'm now going to lean over, trying to do a side angle here and keep my shoulders slightly back. And breathe here. Some of you might be placing your arm over your head. Not me right now. Breathing. So you should feel an activation here. And also, if you can activate the outer edge of your back foot, we have, we're trying to really wake up this part of our body. All right, let's go ahead and release that. And you might want to just shake things out a little bit. And then set up for the other side. So one foot is on your block. This creates an interesting balance challenge too, particularly if you're trying to do this out in the middle of your floor. Have your back foot be slightly angled, but your heel of your front foot should be about, if you drew a line to the middle of your back foot, see if you can keep this thigh open, and you might, for support or just feedback, have your back against that wall. I'm just going to bend and straighten that front knee a little bit, trying to focus on this area. Feel the outer edge of your back foot strongly engaged, trying to create some stability here. You might hold it a little bit and then place your front hand on the thigh and lean over. Try to still keep your body opened. And some of you might be putting an arm over the head. Some of us might not, just keep our hand on the waist. And just notice where we're feeling it. You don't want to work into pain. The critical thing is to always do less. If doing this is creating some sort of hip pain, then start here, or have the foot closer. Do not work into pain. That's a Nike commercial, but it does not work for getting rid of chronic pain. You have to work within safety in order for the new neural connections to be developed. Okay, let's go ahead and very gently get the foot off of that and shake things out. Now, we're going to do a wide-legged forward fold Some of you are going to place your hands on a chair or a block or the wall. Others of you are going to go all the way down. You just decide what's appropriate for you. So if you're doing the chair, you're widening your legs. And most of us, what I really want you to focus in on is the length of the spine. And in order to get that, you might shift your weight back initially, lengthening the spine, breathing here. Should feel really good on the spine. And again, you could be higher up. You could be on the top of the chair or against the wall. Or you can go all the way down to the ground or 2 blocks. All right. We're going to do this one more time now with a block between. Oh. Let's try that again. So we're going to do that same thing, and you can do a normal downward dog if you want to do a full downward dog, but whatever one you're doing, whether it's a wall dog, a chair dog, I want the block between your legs to, again, engage this area, okay? So you decide what's appropriate for you. You're squeezing the inside of the legs. You're going into some version of a dog, whether it's all the way down or on the wall. You're not overdoing this. You're working within your current range today. Feel the effort of pressing against the block and then walk yourself toward the chair, the wall, or whatever, and release this. So we have done a little bit of stability at the beginning, and now we're going to work with a lot more of the flexibility. We'll do some more stabilizing things on the ground. That's actually all I wanted to do with you standing today. All right, so we're going to, you want to spread a blanket now over your mat, because the rest of the time we want to be able to slide. So use a blanket, and the blanket really does allow you to slide a lot better. Unless you're on a carpeting, carpeting also allows you to slide. Sticky mats can somehow get in the way. Okay, and other things for now should be out of your way. All right. So I'm going to probably demonstrate this maybe with my legs to you as well as my legs to the side. You're going to take one leg and literally just slide it up and slide it back. So you're kind of on the outer edge of that foot. Don't lift the feet up. You may not be going as far out as me. I want you to notice as you're doing this, if your pelvis is moving with this movement, or if you're keeping your pelvis still. So it might be helpful to have your hands on this, on your hips. And then if you're getting any sort of interesting sensation, don't go into pain. So if this is all you can go, that's as far as you go. And then slide it back. Slide it slowly up. Slide it slowly back. Let's go ahead and try the other leg. Slide the leg slowly up. Now that you might notice some interesting differences. If this is already too much for you, you could take an extra blanket off to the side so that when you slide up with the knee out, your knee is being a little more supported. So for anybody who has an injury on one side or the other that is causing real discomfort the minute you do this,
Then add an extra layer here to elevate the floor. And I'm going to recommend that you do that with any of these things we're doing today. You'll add an extra, you'll elevate the floor a little bit. Okay, so I've done 3 or 4 on each side, and I've noticed. So the next time you slide it up like this, I want you to then lift the knee. And then don't lift the foot at all. I want you to just let the knee cross your body. It may be a little or a lot. This is not a twist. And come back. So you're just allowing the knee to cross the body a little bit and come back. So you can see we've worked it open. We're now working it closed. It may be a really small move here. One more time on this leg. Don't go to fatigue on your legs. So if I'm doing 5 and you're fatiguing at 3, stop at 3. So go ahead and slide that leg back down. Now slide this other leg out to the side. Draw the knee up. Just roll onto the inside of the foot. Allow that knee to cross. You might have a little lift in this side, you might not at this point. We're going to keep building this move. Just notice your breath in this. Are you aware of your psoas working? Are you working something else? Are you using the leg to do this? Or are you actually using the muscles of the core to help you do this? Slide that leg back out. Okay, so the next time, and I'm going to have my legs face to you for this one. This one gets a little more confusing. Okay, the next time you're sliding the first leg out and coming up, you're letting the knee cross over, but now you're gently sliding the other leg up. You're returning that leg. You're returning to neutral, sliding this leg down. So I'll show you that one again. Slide the leg up. Let the knee cross your midline. Now slide the other leg up into a wide position. This would be a lying down butterfly position or tree pose. Return this leg. Come back to neutral. Slide it down. Let's do 2 of these to the other side. So sliding this leg up to flat foot, letting the knee cross over midline, sliding the other leg like it's in a tree pose, returning that leg, returning this leg to neutral, slide it back down. Slide this leg, foot flat, knee to sky. Allow this leg to go over your midline. You've not lifted the foot. Slide the other leg out to the side. Return that leg to neutral. Return this leg to neutral. Slide everything out. And check in. You could check in with legs down like that, or with legs bent if it's too uncomfortable, or put a cushion under your low spine. And just see how you're feeling. Now, again, we are awakening this part of our body to notice things like, and while you're lying here, either with outstretched legs or something under your knees or knees bent, can you sense any differences between the right and the left side of the psoas? Again, the psoas connects with a bunch of your different, it's one of the lumbar spinal processes, a bunch of the thoracic ones, almost one of them so far up that that's why your diaphragm is affected by your psoas too, because you've got connections all the way back here. So it's like you have a lot of psoases, not just one. So go ahead and bend your knees up and either place hands behind the neck if that is comfortable. If that's not comfortable, you could do arms in just a cactus pose. And we're going to roll the hips away. When you roll the hips away, you create a small arch under your low back. At the same time, if you can, point your chin a little to the sky and allow the arms to come to stillness back here. You should feel the back of your arms. And then come through neutral. Now, here's where you need to check in. Am I really at neutral or am I still holding tension? If you're holding tension, wiggle and get rid of that tension. Now draw those hips towards your rib cage. Tuck the chin in. And you can draw elbows toward each other. You may not even lift the head off the ground. You could do it just like that. And then come back to neutral. Again, am I back at neutral? Make sure you are. Do that again. Roll the hips forward, lift the chin, press the back of the arms into the ground. You're lifting up a little bit from the ground. Now flatten everything out, release tension. Draw chin to chest, elbows toward each other. Roll the hips slightly towards you. The next time we do this, we're going to add a tiny little twist in. So again, do the middle, the pelvic is up, the backs of the arms are in the ground. But now when you draw everything together, you might just twist off to one side, and it's a tiny little twist. Once again, our psoas connects all the way close to that rib cage. And so it's very important that we add in movement there to lubricate that very tight muscle there. Let's go back to rolling the hips away, chin up, back of arms in the ground. Now drawing hips toward ribs, tucking chin in, very slightly going off toward one side. Feeling the side body get involved. This is very small, slow, subtle movements. Go ahead and release for a moment. Do anything that feels neutralizing. You could draw knees into chest. If that feels neutralizing, just lay here, arms out, wiggle a little bit, maybe even gently turn head side to side. So the next movement, I'm going to show you sitting up, but you're doing it lying down. After you see me just demonstrate, just focus on what it feels like. It's really not that important that you look like me. Okay, So you're still lying down like this if your hands can go behind your neck. If not, your arms are like that. So lying down, you're tilting one elbow up and one elbow down like that, and then coming back to the center and back to the center. Now we're going to eventually connect this movement with the interesting leg movement we did, but let's just focus on the upper body. And again, you're still getting into the psoas because the psoas connects all the way up here. That's psoas major. So when you're doing that, you are still lubricating that part of the muscle. All right, so I'll lay sideways. Again, if your arms don't feel comfortable behind the head, you can put them out to the side. So all you're doing, and you're not lifting your body off the ground. This is why the blanket or something slippery is so important. So my one elbow is pointing toward the top of my mat, the other elbow pointing slightly to the bottom, and then I'm coming back to the center. And again, can be a lot of sensation. Make it smaller, make it slower. Do very subtle movements. You can go to the other side and then back to the center. Let's do one more time just with the arms alone. Then we're going to put this all together with what we did earlier with the legs. Back to center. And back to center. So now you're going to, you have that one leg. We can start with the one leg bent. One leg is stretched. So I've got my right leg bent. My left leg is straight. I'm crossing the right knee a little bit over my left leg, drawing up the left leg into a little tree pose, and then tilting my left arm slightly above the head. My right arm is going slightly down. And then returning the arms back to center and returning legs back to neutral. Go ahead and try that one more time. So you're starting off with one leg bent, foot on the ground, my right leg. My left leg is straight. Allow the right knee to gently cross my midline. Now draw the left leg up into like a modified little tree pose. Allow the right elbow to slide down. Left elbow is going up toward the top of your mat. You're in a twist now. Now the next time we return to the center, I want you to draw elbows up and have your elbows point towards your bent right knee. Come back down, release the whole thing. You should feel an awful lot of vibrancy through your side body, your hip area, your psoas. We're going to try this to the other side. Make this small, make it subtle. If there's anything that does not feel safe, back off. So we're going to start now with the left knee bent, foot on the ground. The right leg is stretched out. The hands are back behind the head. So allow the left knee to cross your midline. Now draw up on the outer edge of the right foot into like a little tree pose. It's kind of a tree pose. Now let the left elbow slide toward the bottom of the mat. Mine is not going very far, just a little. And my right elbow is sliding a little bit toward the top of my mat. Now I'm drawing the head back to neutral, sliding the leg back and coming back to my starting point. And trying that again, allowing the knee to gently cross the midline, sliding on the outer edge of the leg into a little bit of a tree pose with the right leg. Now letting the right elbow point toward the top of the mat, left toward the bottom. You can see how we are really opening up and creating a little more vibrancy in this lower part of our body. And again, you might have to do this even smaller. Now we'll just come up to that little twisting action toward that knee, and let's release everything. Now do whatever you want to do that feels neutralizing, anything that feels good. And we're going to make our way onto our bellies soon. So take your time. Ah, great cleansing breath would feel really good here. Inhale through the nose, exhale, make a releasing sound. And I want you to so carefully roll over. Try not to draw your head too far up. Just very, very, very slowly, gently roll yourself on to your bellies. Make a pillow with the arms. For a moment, if you can, just rest your head on the crossed arm pillow. Now, there's a point in Ayurvedic medicine, which is associated with yoga. It's a marma point, which are somewhat similar to meridian points and acupressure points. It's right at your belly button. So for a moment, just breathe in and out to this very important point in your body. So just with your belly kind of compressed, feel like you're lubricating that part of your body with your breath. Now tuck the toes in of both of your feet. See if you can sense your toes tucked in. And imagine that you are pedaling your feet. So draw one heel away from you, pulling that knee off the ground. That should slowly pull that hip and psoas down. Release that. Draw the other knee off the ground, engaging that leg, and the heel is away. That should be working subtly that right side. So just a couple of times pedaling. Very small movement again. Now, coming up into somewhat of a back bend, but don't draw your eyes up. Either have your eyes looking down or eyes closed. And draw the legs taut by tucking those toes in. See if you can not make this about squeezing the butt. See if you can engage the psoas, feel this up and down the spine, and then go ahead and release everything and soften. Now, if you want to go higher in this, you can do it the traditional way with your arms out to the side like that, coming up, or you can draw your arms in closer to your body crossed. And go ahead and tuck those toes in again. Draw the heels slightly away. Knees are off the ground. Don't lift the eyes up. Maybe you're coming up a little higher. Take a nice breath. Release the legs. Release the upper body. Soften down. Now, draw one knee off to the side, but don't go into pain. Make this feel good for you. And then, if you want to, you can try to lift up again the upper body. This will be felt more on one side. Don't make this too much. Go only within your range of motion and go ahead and return everything to neutral. Draw the other knee off to the side and lift up. Feels good on this side, much better than the other side. You'll notice things like that. Go ahead and lower everything and release back to neutral. Now we're going to add one more thing to this if you want to try this. When you draw the first knee off to the side, so mine's the left knee, I'm going to stretch my right arm on the ground, like just stretch it out. Now it doesn't have to be directly in front of me. It can be a little off to the side. And then I'm going to come up, but I'm going to have this opposite arm stretched. And again, if you have to do less, do less. You might have to adjust where the arm is. So you're now using the psoas, but you're also using this whole back body crossing over. And then go ahead and release that. Drawing the other knee off to the side. So my right knee's off to the side. My left arm is stretched on the ground. I'm going to lift up a little bit. And just opening everything up. And then go ahead and releasing things down again. Maybe making a pillow for yourself. Allowing the legs to gently slide side to side. We've done a lot of work. How are you feeling? So very, very, very slowly, gently, we're going to press ourselves. Well, unless you don't like child's pose for whatever reason, if you don't like child's pose, you can stay on your back to do this. I haven't used our strap yet. We are going to use it. Oh, you did at the beginning, but we're going to use it for one more thing. So I want you to go back into child's pose the slowest possible way you can, with the idea that every time you're moving back further into it, you're releasing one other part that's tense in your body. So you might even actually start by tensing everything up. So then you can purposely direct, release, 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 release. Slow. What are you able to release? What muscles are letting go? Now, some of you, if you have severe spinal issues, are not going to put your butt down. You're going to put your head down and keep the butt in the air, and even maybe put a cushion here. Others of us might need something under the head. You're going to try to get into some child's pose or puppy pose that feels completely soft and released. One more breath here. All right. So this is a very physical class today, so we're probably even not going to do a mudra practice today because I really wanted to focus on all these different psoas things today. We are going to make our way into a bridge pose now. But I would like for you, if you don't mind, go back to using your strap to do a specific type of bridge pose. So this is going to go around your thighs above your knees. So, and you're going to have two fists between your legs. So you're going to tighten this so as much as two fists fit between your legs, okay? I'm taking a series of courses with a yoga therapist who's also a kinesiologist. And many of these techniques are coming from her. And the next one I'm taking is on the neck, which is a constant problem for me, and I know some of you. So I'm going to have a lot of new techniques to help our necks for those of us with neck issues. Okay, so literally all you are doing is we're going back to activating the psoas. So you might have to put your hand on top of your hips to feel it, is you're pressing against, you can't use an elastic band. You can't use something soft or stretchy. It has to be something that provides resistance. So I'm pressing against it. No, seeing if I can activate these core muscles rather than do this with my legs. Can you feel the activation? So we're going back to stability again and strength, and then release it. Really focus, and there's 3 levels of abdominal muscles on top of the psoas. So it is not easy to notice if you're working and releasing the psoas. But when your psoas is dysfunctional, and there were months when I had this at some point in my tennis career, it felt like I was wearing a girdle all the time. The pain radiated like a girdle. So being able to keep a healthy psoas is so important for low back, hip pain, and all of that. All right, so don't do too many of these. We're going to go the other direction. So grab your block. Where's the block? So now we're squeezing in. So we're doing the opposite. Squeeze again, focusing on the psoas. So put your hands back on this hip area. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. My hips and low back felt so good yesterday. I did a session like this with one of my private clients, and I had so much more pep in my step yesterday from doing a lot of this really interesting work. Squeeze and release. So we will end with a supported bridge pose. You may not want to use a block. You might want to use something soft like a rolled blanket, or if you have a narrower bolster. If you want to not have any effort by your legs at all, you could also have the strap still around your thighs, just so you're not using muscular action of the legs. So just kind of setting yourself up in some fashion. And this is nice if you then want to transition into legs up on a chair, or legs on the wall, or legs in the air. I cannot get my neck right. So one other thing also, which is very helpful for the psoas, if you can get this, is to get yourself a sandbag. You can make a sandbag if you live near the beach, and you could actually lay that bag over your lower belly, right at the crease of the hip. And just for a little more feedback here with your breath. So this is just a restorative bridge pose. And there are weighted blankets. You can buy, sandbags, but literally you can make your own sandbag too. But these nice covers are nice as well to place around it. And then if you want to end with, you might want to, if you have a sandbag, if you want to end with legs on the wall or on the chair, on the sofa, or in the air with your legs being supported. And then I will set up for our final guided reading and meditation. I had a lot to share with you all today. I spent a good part of this weekend in training, so I really wanted to share the tools with you that I learned that I found so helpful for some of that persistent pain. And you'll notice today when you're walking around, things might just feel a little more lively. Okay, I'm going to turn this thing on. My sound will be a little different because this is the only way for you to hear the bowls at the end. Okay, so wherever you are, find your way into whatever feels like the most appropriate Shavasana today. Maybe you've had enough of being on your back and would like to be in a seated Shavasana. Maybe you're fine there. And this is from Mark Nepo's book. It's one of my favorite readings, and I think it's very apropos to maybe the agitation a lot of us have felt nervous system wide about things going on in the world or even in our own personal lives. And it's called Agitations of the Dark. When the dark is at rest, the light begins to move. Just how do we deal with agitations of the dark? How do we make our way through the tangle of being confused or sad or blocked in understanding a way to tomorrow? It seems natural enough to treat our problems like an overgrown path and go hacking our way through, doing small violence to ourselves. Yet this insight from an ancient Chinese text implies something harder and yet simpler. It implies that agitation itself is dark, that the only way we can keep our hands off, that only when we can keep our hands off will there be room for light. So how many times have I examined and re-examined the words of another in my mind, growing dark vines by going over and over what was said? What could it mean? What could all that wasn't said mean? What must I now do in response or non-response? The thought weeds grow, blocking the light. I laugh when I think of how many hours I've spent in my life weaving storylines that never came true until, like weeds, they covered my heart. It was as if the light in infinite patience won't force itself into our hearts. No, it seems to wait and wait for us to open, content to fill whatever small space we can clear in ourselves. It seems that agitations of the dark always cover over. For myself, I worked for years covering over sore lesions of esteem with agitations of accomplishment, till my heart was covered over with a thicket of achievements. Only when I put the achievements aside did the light begin to move. Only then did a universal warmth reach my sore center. Only when I let the dark energies rest did I begin to heal. So in the last minute, consider something you're re-examining and re-examining and re-examining in your mind. For a moment, just breathe and see if you can stop thinking about it. Let the breath be the light that parts the dark thoughts. And then when the light comes in, hold that sore center with kindness, compassion, and care. So this signals the end of our time together today. I hope you gained some physical benefits from all the practices we did, as well as physiological, which is the breath, and then psychological and emotional and spiritual. So draw hands at the heart. Let's acknowledge each other and say namaste.